we subsequently received some amended appointments to that original appointment. It is our opinion that we will be adhering to the original appointment of those observers on election day, but that because of the withdrawal of the candidates who wish to be part of that after the initial filing had been made, that the subsequent filing of amended observers will not be accepted by the board. And I will be contacting, Bill and I will, after this meeting, contact the organization who did this to alert them that we are not accepting their amended observer appointments for tomorrow's election. Any questions on that?
That wasn't clear. So you're not accepting what was sent to you this morning, about 10:30 this morning, but you are accepting what was submitted in the 11-day before period?
The original.
Or you're not accepting any? Are you having observers tomorrow? You had them for early voting.
The original any original appointment that is made by this organization will be allowed, but any subsequent amendment that we receive will not be allowed.
So they will have observers tomorrow, the first slate of them.
Well, we don't know.
I believe the first slate was all in-person early votes.
I will have to check that, but any amendments that were made to the first set that were filed will not be allowed.
So then, to be clear, because it's still not, they will not have observers at the polls tomorrow. They only would have had early voting?
I need to check what their initial appointment was. If it was just for early voting, then it would just be for early voting. If they made any original appointments also for any precincts on election day, those would be upheld and allowed, but any amendments they made to it after that will not be allowed. I'm not familiar with whether...
The original one I reviewed, and it didn't have polling locations.
Okay, well, we'll review it, but I'm glad you brought it up so we understand that it's contingent upon our review of what the original documentation is.
Would there be a way for us, would there be a way to, I realize it's very busy coming in here. Is there a way for you to notify us? One of the candidates, the candidates are here, the candidate is here.
Right.
To testify.
Well, we need to know who you are.
I'm sorry, my name is Marion Lubo. I'm not the candidate. So it's really not clear as whether they will be in the precinct or not tomorrow.
Well, you'll pick up your phone and answer a question. There's no secret about this. You can just check
We're going to
back.
check after this meeting on if they made appointments for election day observers at the polling locations. If they did, those will be upheld. If they did not, they won't have anybody. But what we're saying is if they did make an initial appointment for an election day observer process, that will be upheld, but any amendment that has been filed will not.
Now, I have a letter that I sent, and Marianne and I did, and several of the board members got it. It went to John Houston and to two of his attorneys, Jack Christopher and Christopher Shea. Early this morning it went out. Faxes were also sent both here and the Secretary of State's office. And if possible, I'd like to read it into the letter before we all leave today.
It's not on our agenda.
It's about this subject, and it's important.
Okay, we're not actually voting on the subject. We were merely discussing this matter.
And
so
we have a copy of the letter that you sent, and we have it on file.
Mr. Walsh, just one more question for me.
If you would ask questions through the chair of the board, please.
go ahead.
So their original filings were made on October 1st. Then they filed amended on or about October 25th, 26th, 2012. Is that included in your understanding of amended filings?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
One more question, but then we're actually, as we try to keep these meetings open, but we will move on after.
Yes, I'd like to know.
Could you identify yourself?
Yes, my
please?
name is Kathy Pope. I'm a resident of the city of Columbus. I live on the west side. I would like to know if it's the board's policy that in the future, if 5 of 6 candidates who sign a petition like this all say they disavow their signature, Will the board honor such a petition in the future? Is this the board's policy?
The issue that, Mr. Chairman, if I
Go
might.
ahead, please.
The issue that was in play here was the fact that the appointment came in prior to the candidates withdrawing their support for that, and the code does not provide for a mechanism of withdrawing an appointment once it has been made in this instance. The law is silent on withdrawing an appointment once it has been made.
Is this not a policy concern for the future?
We are acting as our council interprets and advises us as it relates to the revised code. We don't create the revised code, but we operate under it, and I don't think we need a policy beyond what we've been advised. So I would presume going in the future that would be our approach unless the legislature changes the revised code.
I think, I'll just give some background real quick. Mr. Chairman, I found out this weekend, it was the first time I saw the amended filings, and I brought it to the board's attention. I was just concerned because I knew that, this group had the first signing or filing, I think October 1st or October 2nd. I saw, and I know that they'd all pulled the names off, and then there was this amendment filed with all those names on it again. And I know some of the candidates
I
that
did not sign
that are on the
any
amended
file.
report. I know that they, and
So
I've
if my
talked to them,
name
and I
was
know that they
submitted,
didn't
it was
sign.
forged.
Yeah. And I know that they didn't sign those documents, so I was concerned, and that's why I brought it up. And I'm glad that we all worked out. And I think as far as the original signing, I think as the chairman said, I think we're basically locked in with. We can't do anything about it. I think once it's filed, and even if they pull it out, there's no mechanism to allow that observer appointment to be pulled. The better case might have been for those candidates to come together and amend that document and delete all those people from being appointed in the first place. Would have probably been a better.
I was invited to several of the True the Vote meetings when they did the planning on this. And the plans for this are not for a harmonious polling location. Things were discussed like using cameras to intimidate voters as they come in. Their plans were to have iPads that they're able to, as the voter is coming in, what was described to me was that they were going to be there overlooking into the book, and they're going to get the voters' information as coming, and they're planning to send it in to some central location and be able to try and stop between the poll worker going through and getting the voter in the book and their voter ticket number and stuff. They're planning to be able to stop the voter between that and walking to a machine. You can't tell me how this is going to add to a harmonious polling location. You're going to have problems galore. And I'd be happy to tell you further about these meetings because I was invited to a bunch.
The behavior you describe is, of course, we all know or should know and know, specifically and expressly prohibited. So we're not going to permit that, and the staff's not going to permit that kind of activity to take place in any form. And now we have to move on.
The next
Unless the
item,
board wants to say.
the last item on the agenda is, we have to vote to go into